We're going to follow this developing story further. I'm joined now by cybersecurity expert Ritesh Kotak. Ritesh, thanks a lot for your time.
Thank you for having me.
So we're now talking about the United States putting forward this ban. As we sort of move ahead on this, or if this does move forward, what kind of repercussions could we be looking at?
I think the repercussions are huge. So the first things first is it's important to know that Huawei itself has been in Canada for over a decade, over 10 years, and has invested millions of dollars in research and development, and especially in the wireless and telecommunications field. So the repercussions here are going to be absolutely massive because telcos are now going to have to replace existing equipment, which is going to increase the cost. They're going to have to procure, so they're going to have to purchase all component parts from essentially locally. So that's going to cause an issue, especially with securing the supply chain. And the third thing is this might even set back the deployment of 5G. And that in itself would detract investors and have repercussions, especially amongst entrepreneurs looking to scale out and build out their ventures.
What about talking about the consumer then with regards to these products?
Yeah, so again, you have there's two types of products here. The first is consumer products, which could be handheld devices and devices in your home. And the second component here is the actual hardware that facilitates this communication. So if the hardware needs to be replaced, there's going to be a cost, and probably the billions to do this. And if hardware itself is banned, then again, there will be the cost to recycle this equipment. And that not only is there going to be a cost that's going to have to, at some point, is going to come down to consumers. It's also, again, going to further delay and cause issues for Canadians.
Yeah, and speaking of sort of the issues for Canadians, and the other big issue that, of course, we're talking about is that protection, that security protection. So would this move further provide protections for the United States? I'm asking because, of course, they're the ones that are putting forward the ban. We're still waiting to hear on Canada's end, but let's bring in Canada into that loop as well. Yeah,
so we talk about security. The reality is that anything can be hacked. There's always going to be vulnerabilities at some point, whether it be an insider threat, whether it be something related to hardware or something that exposes itself to the open internet, and hackers are able to exploit vulnerabilities. So what this probably will address is two factors here. And the first factor is the hardware itself and the security concerns that come with that, which is the ability for Chinese companies to essentially bug with microchips listening devices or devices that capture data and send it back to Beijing. So that's definitely one factor. And then the second factor is going to be related again to those devices, the ability to not be able to intercept individual communication. So there's all these factors. Now, how does Canada fit into this? Well, Canada is a part of the Five Eyes: New Zealand, Canada, Australia, the UK, and the United States. And New Zealand, Australia, and now the United States are saying that they will not be using Huawei and Chinese technology. So it puts Canada in a very precarious position here.
All right. Well, something that we're going to keep a close eye on. We're going to have to leave it there. Ritesh Kotak, cybersecurity expert. Ritesh, really appreciate your time on this. Thank you.
Thank you so much for having me.